Hey guys, welcome back to the R Squared Fantasy Football Podcast. We're back this week. It's a great Tuesday. We've got some news to go over. We're your hosts. I'm Ian. You can find me on Twitter at dynasty_IM.
I'm Akash. You can find me on Twitter at YZR_fantasy. Jalen Hurts, what's the thing that you said about someone else before? A violation of rational thinking. We can't steal that title. We can't steal that title because that would be rude. But it is true about Jalen Hurts that his values are a violation of rational thinking.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just jump right into Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts was good in fantasy last year. He was really good. He was a top 5 quarterback. We could thank that to an insanely high carry percentage, like he was rushing a ton. Yeah. The thing with Jalen Hurts is we do have to, like, when it comes to quarterbacks more so than really any other position, we kind of have to separate fantasy in a way from real life, because
100%
being good in fantasy as a quarterback doesn't necessarily mean that you are good as an NFL quarterback for what an NFL GM is looking versus what a fantasy football GM is looking for. Like with Jalen Hurts, if you took him last year, which for his production was a steal because he was top 5 quarterback that didn't cost close to that. Now, from a dynasty perspective, why do you not cost close to that? Well, his prospect profile wasn't great at all. He was a second round pick, when it comes to NFL quarterbacks, unless you light it up right away, you are far more likely to have less stability because you're a second round pick. They aren't tied to you in any way, shape, or form. Take like Sam Darnold, for example. How long was he with the Jets, despite them probably having a really good idea that he's a bad quarterback?
That's right. And then he gets traded to the Panthers, and they still believe on him.
Despite and he might have another year as a starter.
That's right. All because he had the high pedigree.
All because he was the second or third overall pick.
Versus Drew Lock, who was a second-round pick. He had some hype, just like a lot of young players have hype because eternal optimism. He has one bad year, and then he loses his job to Teddy Bridgewater. That's more in line of what to expect for any quarterback drafted after round 1, basically.
Yeah, and the thing with Jalen Hurts, so like a few of the arguments are like takes I've seen. So at the end of the season, I remember it was pretty popular, would you take the 101 in this year's class, or would you take the Jalen Hurts? And surprisingly, at least from like the group that I was a part of or saw, Jalen Hurts was the consensus in that group that's who you take.
The winner of the poll?
Wow. That's the winner of the poll.
That's outrageous.
It was outrageous because there was the comparison to, well, look at Lamar Jackson's second year.
What? The won the MVP?
Just to kind of, I don't know, get rid of that narrative just like really quick. Mm-hmm. If we use clean PFF pass grade, which for those who don't know is a good indication of whether you're passing good or you're passing bad, just in general. The idea is that you take out like how terrible your O-line is, for example, so that you can compare quarterbacks on an even playing field. That's essentially the goal of this, and it's predictive. So it's a good metric. But anyways, Lamar Jackson in his second year, the year he won MVP, has a clean pass grade of 88.3. So in his second year, we have a really good idea Lamar, despite being this crazy high rusher like Hurts has been, he also is really good at passing the ball. What is Jalen Hurts his second year? 76.3. Sorry, I was on the wrong one there. 74.3. So yeah, he's not someone who are like, wow, he is this terrific passer. Yeah. The NFL loves him. The problem is he was a second round pick. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And he wasn't a good passer. So there's also that. Now, if you guys want to know, because this will apply even more context, I'll go who's around Teddy Bridgewater, basically. So in his second year, I'll go 6 spots above him, 6 spots below him. Here are the names. Chad Henne, Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, Cam Newton, RG3, Mariota, Teddy Bridgewater, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, Mayfield, Bortles, and Andy Dalton.
Wow.
The Josh Allen one, please do not get excited that I just said Josh Allen because Josh Allen is like the epitome of an outlier.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to do that.
That's right.
But all those people I just said, besides Matt Ryan and obviously Josh Allen, who are both ahead of him, by the way, by a few points, none of those were good at passers. Most of those got replaced. Robert Griffin III was a high draft pick and still got replaced. Marcus Mariota was a high draft pick, still got the injury.
For Robert Griffin had a fantastic rookie season.
Oh yeah, he was one of the best passers as an elite that we have. So that's
but then the injury killed it.
And this is an injured RG3.
Injured RG3
comparing to. Yeah. So that says something. And then Marcus Mariota replaced. Teddy Bridgewater replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100% sure what Brissett was.
I think Bridgewater got hurt too.
Yeah,
bad ACL tear and then got cut.
Yeah, but and then Baker Mayfield is now getting replaced. Blake Bortles was replaced. Gardner Minshew was replaced. Andy Dalton. Well, Andy Dalton's a tough one because it was in year 2, but they kind of just let him be Andy Dalton forever. And he was drafted higher than Jalen Hurts was, which was also the thing. Because if you're like, well, Andy Dalton, he had very similar passing, his second year, and he was with the Bengals for 10 years. If I get 10 years of Jalen Hurts, oh my goodness, just imagine. Here's the problem. The Bengals probably, 1, shouldn't have done that, and 2, they drafted Andy Dalton high in the first round. They were tied to him as a franchise.
They drafted him in the second.
They did?
Yeah.
All my analysis is wrong right now. Everything.
They drafted AJ Green 4th, and then Andy Dalton
35th overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Andy Dalton sounds like a good comp for his passing.
Okay, that's not ideal.
No, I mean, basically I was wrong about that last part, but to my point, it's still not not fantastic. Because
you have one guy who seems similar and then a bunch of guys who got replaced. Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's, if we were curious, like his was close to, like Ryan Tannehill, second year Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, Herbert, Watson, Mahomes.
Those are some really good players.
Yeah, he's actually right next to Colin Kaepernick. That's kind of funny.
That's interesting. Kaepernick was a round 2 guy too, right? Or was he round 3?
He was round 2 or 3.
He got replaced in the end. A lot of these round 2, 3 guys get replaced. The guys who were drafted after round 1 who are starters right now in the NFL are Carr, Russ, Dak, Brady. Who else? Am I missing anyone?
I was just gonna
is a starter right now, but then the list isn't that long because there's not a lot of round 1 like quarterbacks who go after round 1 who start for very long.
Yeah,
unless you completely blow it out of the water like Russ did, or like Dak did, or like Carr did, or like Brady did.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue. Like they were talking about is unless you're gonna come out and be really good in the NFL, like you're a really good passer, like. You talk about Russell Wilson was a 3rd round guy. His first 2 years in the league, he had a 90+ clean PFF pass grade. He passed really well. Like Dak Prescott was really good.
For sure.
So what I did was
Cousins is another guy on the list. That's about it for guys.
Yeah, and Cousins was good when he was good. That's why he's kept around, and that's why he got paid because he was good as a passer. But looking at 2nd round guys who played in the NFL last year, we do get a large list. None of them really good besides, like you said, like Dak and Russ, which are guys who lit up the league. And I think Derek Carr is someone who could go into that.
Derek Carr had a good second year before his leg injury. He got an MVP
and he's still a really good passer.
Yeah.
For fantasy, we don't like him because there's no upside in Derek Carr at all. Derek Carr's just a good passer.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's the point. He's a good passer, so he's going to get paid. He's going to keep his job. He's going to have that stability. That's what we don't have with Jalen Hurts is that we know he's just really good fantasy rusher, not the most fantastic passer.
And if you're looking just like something like that at price, like for very similar value to Hurts, you can get the 101 or 1 or 2, or maybe even a little bit extra because people seem to prefer him to those picks. You get Brees. We love Brees because he's a really good running back, and people love running back, so his value will be fantastic. But we also have Malik Willis, where you get all the same rushing with more value insulation, but a little bit more upside. And then you have Jalen Hurts, where you get the 101 or 1 or 2, or maybe even a little bit extra because people seem to prefer him to those picks. You get Brees. We love Brees because he's a really good running back, and people love running back, so his value will be fantastic. But we also have Malik Willis, where you get all the same rushing because he'll be a rookie, and then we give rookies chances, especially when they go high in round 1. And that round 1 capital will give him insulation in the NFL, where he'll have better job security than Jalen Hurts has. So you get all of the upside with a lot less downside and more job security.
So even if we pretend that Malik Willis is the 101, which he's not, we actually think there's a better prospect we can get more value on. Mm-hmm. So, but let's just pretend for this argument's sake that Malik Willis is the 101. So these people the group was arguing Jalen Hurts or Malik Willis essentially. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Malik Willis is likely a top 10 pick, at least the way we're hearing everything. It seems like he's a top 10 pick. You know what that means? Like Kosh said, that means job security. That means whether you are a terrible passer in your first year or second year, possibly, the franchise is likely going to start you again because they invested in you. They are tied to you and they believed in you at one point. Look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen, top 10 pick. Terrible, abysmal, bad first 2 years.
Yeah.
If Josh Allen was a second round pick, he's not a starter in year 3 for the Buffalo Bills. That is not a question.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like if Josh Allen didn't have first round capital and he had the same first 2 years that he had, you're basically talking about Drew Lock, who then lost his job.
Yes.
But then if you look at Malik Willis, if he goes high round 1, you're basically looking. He doesn't even have to be a very good passer to keep his job. And you look at Cam Newton, who wasn't a very good passer throughout any of his career, but he was a franchise guy, drafted to be their franchise guy, so he stuck around as their franchise guy. It's kind of how these teams view their quarterbacks like that.
Yeah, and so basically you're getting like Kosh nailed it. You get the same rushing, so you get pretty much the same level of upside, if not a little more with Willis, because him being drafted in the top 10 tells us he's probably a better prospect in general. Mm-hmm. So we have reason to believe he's probably better than Jalen Hurts in general. So not only are you getting the higher floor because of job security and stability, you're also likely getting the higher upside because Malik Willis is a better prospect.
That's right. At price, there's no reason to be in on Jalen Hurts when he goes around so many also good players. If he was a lot cheaper, maybe I'd be more into him. But if you're just looking for short-term production, you can totally invest in Russell Wilson or Matthew Stafford for cheaper prices at your quarterback for very similar production.
If you're looking for a top 5 season and you're a contender who's just all in, and you just want a top 5 season, even if it means it's only one more year and might not be next. Brady. Sure, that could happen to Jalen Hurts, or you could do it 10 times cheaper with Tom Brady.
Yep. There's just so many ways you can pivot off Jalen Hurts' value. You could even parlay him. His value is high enough that you could probably, without giving up too much, parlay him into an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I bet you, like those trades, like you're talking about, like, what can I add to Jalen Hurts to get me Lamar Jackson? What can I add to get Kyler Murray? I'm sure whatever you're adding is 100% worth it, because there is a very, like, if we take the median range of outcomes, like, that's kind of on the fence whether Hurts is going to be a starter next year or the year after, I would assume. So there's that chance you paid whatever the extra was and a backup quarterback for a league winner, top 5 dynasty startup asset.
Yeah, that's right. Which is 100% worth it.
100%.
You should be moving mountains to get Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray on your fantasy teams.
Yeah, and if it's going to cost you Jalen Hurts plus, then do it.
I'm with you. That should wrap it up for Jalen Hurts. Thank you so much for listening, for watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, to the R2 Fantasy Football Podcast. Once again, you can find me on Twitter at YZR_fantasy. Ian?
And you can find me at Dynasty_IM.
That's right. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to go down, like the video, and comment. It really helps us out. We love hearing you guys' feedback. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
Later.